this round is where the big boys lie, as we do go into the round of 8 now, and all of these players have guaranteed themselves at least $10,000, looking for a whole lot more. Welcome to the round of 8 as we get things going here at the battle station. I have the illustrious lineage of analysis men, and we do have Maynarde, we have Artosis, and we are going to be bringing you the round of 8. Gentlemen, it's going to be Serral going up against Trap. What a start. Our only non-Korean player in this bracket.
Yeah, and I mean, it's doable for him. This bracket, though, is so stacked. Look at this bracket.
It's insane.
It's so good, it's dumb. You know what I mean? It is just
stupid.
It's stupid how good this bracket is.
We shouldn't even do it.
No, we should
just leave it like this. It's perfect as it is.
It's too good. Pull funding.
You guys can just like imagine how great these games would have been.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Well, everyone go to bed. It's over.
You know what? I saw the round of 12 laid out. We had the bracket last night, and I was like, I actually feel like Serral's got a pretty good shot here. I think he could beat.
I think a lot do.
I think he can beat whoever comes through with Trap, and obviously Trap ended up coming through. I think he can do this. His ZVP is incredible. We've seen it. I mean, obviously, that's the matchup he won to win the WCS in Leipzig. And there's so many good Protosses in Europe to practice with, as well as the fact that he has been facing these scary Koreans.
Definitely is. I mean, looking at, Serral's past track record when it comes to Protoss as well, he hasn't really lost a series against Protoss since last year. So, he's doing pretty well.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I guess that's right, isn't it?
It's true. Against Showtime in the WESG.
Yeah, no, that's a ways off.
And since then, he's only lost 4 maps to Protoss.
I mean, his Zerg versus Protoss is quite good. But Trap should not be underestimated.
Agreed.
People keep underestimating him, and he keeps winning. He just took down Dark. That series was sick. I think that Dark plays, such a strong style, and he's so smart that, Serral could do this too, but we should not expect, even based upon these crazy stats, and the fact that he went 10-2 through his group, we should not expect that he's just going to beat. This isn't going to be Rogue versus Hurricane again, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
God, I hope not.
No.
Maynard, quick thought before we head to the show?
I think a lot of people underestimate Trap. I think he was underestimated even after he won in GSL. He's been underestimated when he won in bracket stage. He's been underestimated in group stage. He's been underestimated in the round of 12.
All right, settle down.
When does it stop? I don't even know if he can be.
I think you're overestimating his underestimation.
Okay, look, that's what I just did. I'm sorry, I take it back.
All right, I'm getting away from you guys as quickly as possible. Thank you, gentlemen, as we are now ready. Going into the round of 8, Serral from Finland goes up against Trap from South Korea.
Something in the air tonight. I'm gonna have to reach for new heights. And if I have to stand alone, I'm not afraid to face the throne. The enemy is all around. The walls crumble as I watch them.
After a crazy set of round of 12 matches, it's finally time to dive into our first quarterfinal match of the day, and it features the only non-Korean left at this event. He's the recent WCS Leipzig champion, and he'll be taking on the 2015 Katowice runner-up, who's hoping to make the grand finals again here in front of all of you guys. Please give a warm welcome. It is Serral and Trap.
Here we go. Trap up against Serral. Korea meets the foreign scene in the form of this young Finnish player. A stoic young gentleman who shows his attitude, shows his emotions and personality through his gameplay. An absolute monster who's been on a tear through this tournament.
So much pressure on his shoulders to try and represent, I guess, the whole community outside of Korea, and our best hope here to do well. He's looked so impressive. Like, it's crazy, like the names that he went up against and defeated previously in the tournament, but now he goes up against a Trap who's got, I would say, a pretty good warm-up in the matchup earlier, and who defeated the very strong Dark.
Yeah, he looked incredible this morning. Just starting out very hard and fast, of course. Did go up 2-0. There was a near reversal there. Dark pulled back 2 games before Trap was able to seal it out. But sealing the deal versus Dark, no matter how shaky 1 or 2 moments in that series were, it is something which you cannot underestimate him for. I like what Artosis was saying. You know, this is a guy who can bring the fight to Serral. But realistically, form in this tournament, form overall, form in recent months, we've got to look at Serral as the favorite. He's looking focused and powerful. We are going to be launching into this series, guys. It is Zerg versus Protoss, Finland versus Korea. Up here in the top left-hand side of the map. In the red, the Protoss player representing Jin Air Green Wings. It is Trap.
And in the south, he hails from Finland, playing Zerg, and in the blue, it is Serral. Is it not though? We'll see about that. Trap, a previous finalist here at the Intel Extreme Masters. He lost to Zest in the grand finals. One of the most memorable prize ceremonies, as Zest was the only player to ever leave the trophy with 1 arm pig.
Yeah, I mean, he had sore arms for days afterwards on the plane ride home, but he looked epic in that moment. Any stadium, any office you go to, usually ESL or wherever, there seem to be photos of Zest holding that trophy up. It is such a memorable moment, such a famous moment. But right now, of course, it is between these 2 players. Acid Plant to start things off. A very wide map across the middle. Huge movement. We've been seeing a lot of drop play on this map, especially from Serral. Hydra Baneling coming in this main area, just across this gap into the main base. We've seen lots of Hydra drops coming in there, but because that's so common, Protoss players have been all over it. We've seen Phoenix patrolling there, pylons and sometimes even cannons there, Stalkers on patrol, the whole works. So definitely that's something to keep an eye out for as we go on. But especially what I love is when you get to 5 bases on this map, they're so spread out and they're also exposed. You can't really just sit back and defend. You kind of need to get into the middle of the map and start engaging your opponent.
And if it's any indication, they've both had a scrappy series previously in the tournament. When Serral played against Neeb, I think we all remember what happened. There were attacks everywhere and it was very close, back and forth. And Trap, like just today when playing against Dark, had these crazy games as well. He lost so many probes to a bunch of Hydralisks being dropped all over the place, somehow came back and won that game. So
that was
definitely could be seeing
insane,
some crazy stuff like that, I think, here once again.
Yeah, it's very cool to see a player be as resilient as that, coming back from such a hard position. And Trap's shown he's got it all throughout this tournament, playing a huge range of the matchups and performing very well. Goes and pylon blocks the 3rd, and Serral opts to take the other base. Let's see, does he cancel that pylon at the last second to get the money back? Yes, he does. So a very nice kind of interruption here from Trap, just trying to force Serral's bases to be spread out in a pattern which he didn't choose.
Trap's gonna have to be on point because Serral, he's so good with the links. He's always trying to make something happen, especially from the moment Protoss takes a 3rd base. He'll attack you in one of the bases, take your attention away, and then attack elsewhere. Go for a run by as well. If you're not sealed off just once in the natural wall off that you have, he's gonna sneak some links in, and then from there, what will he do? He will send links again on the other side and start doing damage that it's very hard to recover from if you're a Protoss player. So Trap has to be careful not to let these things happen, not even just once, because otherwise he might find himself in a lot of trouble. The Stargate will not discard it, so I guess Serral will not be able to find out that there is an oracle behind the Phoenix here, but you always get spores anyway to make sure that you're safe back at home.
Absolutely, and an incredibly fast lair on the way here for Serral, which does point towards 2 things in my mind. One is, of course, fast Hydralisk play. The other one is a Nidus Worm. I think Hydralisk play, definitely something we do see Serral do occasionally. It really is only this upper tier, maybe the top 5 Zergs in the world who we see consistently going straight to Hydras without opening Roaches first. We see Serral and Rogue getting away with this. Very few other players are able to balance it, but it can be a little bit exposed against some forms of aggression. Robo and Twilight on the way points towards that, of course. Charge Lot, Archon, Harassment, and potentially even All In. And there is going to be a safety Roach Warren here for Serral.
A lot of players used to not ever do build loaders in tournaments that they weren't very comfortable with and that they hadn't trained a lot. But we heard Rogue earlier, when after he went for a Nidus Swarm twice in his match, in the post-game interview, he said that he went for it because he saw Laser do it and it looked very strong. So we've reached this moment in Starcraft. Actually, a little adept here, getting caught a little bit as the harassment across the map's happening here. With the Oracles flying in and sniping a bunch of drones here as the Phoenix pick up the Queen. Good job here by the Wing Commander himself. Trap very good with his air units every single time. But yeah, like, it's a real moment in Starcraft where like a player that might not have done a builder many times, all you have to see is one game. If you're a top player, you'll figure out the timings and how to execute that build order properly. So not out of the realm of possibility for Serral to do something like that, but still decently unlikely, I would say. Like, he's definitely more one of those guys that will want to drone up more and expand and at least play on 3 bases before he starts attacking a lot.
Serral has seen the attempt to go for the third. He sees Zealots there, and this already tells him everything he needs to know. He knows no third base at 5 minutes 30, no units other than Zealots out. He knows charges on the way, he knows Archons are on the way, and as a result, he is massing Roaches. Serral is a player who has done some deadly counterattacks with Roaches. Yeah, he's mixing a few more in, but he's already got about 10-15 Roaches out, so I think he's pretty well prepared for at least the first wave. Yeah. Is Trap building workers right now, or is he actually just committing everything to this? No worker production.
Yeah, he made so many gates here. He's just going to try and flood with Charge Lot and Archons. The Spire starts. I think Serral might be misreading this a little bit. If Trap were to commit more to the aggression here. Oh, the Warp Prism gets chased away and almost sniped here. It's up in the air. Look at how far the creep spread goes. Serral could even try to chase that here, send a unit all the way out there, zone that Warp Prism out for as long as he can.
Oh, but he's actually building 12 more workers. Serral pushing back the pressure might actually be getting a little bit greedy.
I mean, look at the creep spread. How would you not be confident here? Look at that creep spread. He's not being denied at all.
He sees everything, and with the Spire coming as well. And what is Trap doing? He's swapping back into probes. He's dropping a Forge. Trap is way behind. He did commit a lot to this Archon drop. It did nothing. He didn't even do a Zealot pressure with it. Now suddenly Trap trailing by 20 workers. He's behind in the upgrades, and most importantly, he has no idea about the Spire tech.
What's the units lost so far? Like, what have they lost? It doesn't feel like it's much from Serral to lose 7 drones and 16 Lings.
Not when they commit to 2 Oracles like that, not at all.
A Zerg is never going to kill much early on in a game like this because you're the one trying to drone up and kind of staying on your side of the map. Okay, that drone will get sniped as well. But Serral doing a fantastic job of just kind of droning up.
Ooh, is he going to spot the Spire? Oracle's coming and get a few kills. I don't think he saw that Spire there. We are going to have the Observer check. No, he still hasn't seen it. And we've got 800 gas, 900 gas. We might just see 9 or 10 Mutas come out all at once. I think that'd be a great choice for Serral.
I talked about this earlier. If Serral can gain any kind of momentum, he's going to fly into your main base with the Mutas, start killing probes, fly into the natural, do the same thing, force some units to go there, and then do a full-on ground attack into that third base and just kill you. It's so hard to hold on against this. Like, he's getting so many units. It's not like he's droning up. Like, he could drone up here if he wanted to take an easy fourth, but he's getting a ton of units. So I do believe that Serral eventually means to attack after the Mutas have distracted Trap and kind of forced him back into that natural or main base with at least a lot of his units.
That's a ton of Roaches and Ravages. He wants to find an opening to do damage with them. You don't want to just sit on these Roaches until the late game where they fall off and become very worthless, wasting supply. He is adding some drones behind this, but I agree with you. And look, he even finds the Phoenix, but oh, actually a little bit of a slip up with those Mutalisks. They have been spotted. They are going to dive towards the main base. Prism with the Archons is already bruised. He dives on it. Trap caught in the open. The War Prism couldn't unload the Archons. A huge blunder. Serral snaps the back of that, and now he's in the worker line.
And from there, he's going to keep on flying all across the place. There's enough Stalkers to defend there. I'll fly into that third base, snap some more probes, maybe fly into the main base. After that, he's setting up on the right-hand side with his massive army to attack into that location. Trap is stretched all over the place. He doesn't even know, what's coming or how to defend. He does land a huge tag on an army, but Serral is the one running the show here right now, getting centrifugal hooks, +1 melee is on the way as well. These guys, I guess, will get saved.
Yeah, I mean, save 5 of the Zealots, that's nice, but really, how do you deal with this follow-up? Serral's got creep spreading across the map. He's almost max. He's got a 4-base economy, more Ravages and Banelings on the way. Mutas can actually take these Phoenix down. Trap, a little bit inattentive on his micro, is going to take down 1 Mutalisk. but these mutas still marauding around the base. The Ravagers, Roaches, and Banelings starting to push their way through. The High Templar looking for the Storm, not finding a target just yet. Great positioning on those force fields from Trap. The cannons and shield batteries doing wonders, but Trap has so little to work with. He needs a few more engagements like that.
Such a sick defense from Trap so far. Serral will pull back and regroup. So many Banelings are gonna roll right in there.
Oh,
again,
nice
force fields are on
field.
point and some Storm as well, but Trap, he has little units in comparison. That was a fantastic hold, I have to say. Wow, I'm so impressed. Serral is just gonna kind of run on home with a lot of his units being quite bruised. The force fields were perfect, and so were the Storm here. Serral still ahead in supply, but he committed a lot to this attack, and it's still technically fairly low tier units here. It's still on lair tech.
Yeah, but it's all Ravager Baneling. This isn't a super late-term composition. It can work very well for an extended mid-game, but once the Protoss adds about 6 or 7 Archons in front of their High Templar with Storm, that's where Ravager Baneling turns from a good composition to a terribly cost-inefficient composition. Trap is racing towards that point in the game. Serral here, patiently teching up, adding on a few more workers. It looks like these Mutalisks, their time has expired. They are off. And they're all going to get shot down by those Phoenix. The Ravagers and Banelings are looking for another angle. It's mostly mass Baneling. Remember, Trap still working with very few units. He's low on units. He's low in the numbers. Is he going to be able to defend?
Yeah, Serral trying to bait these Storms here. He pulls back at the last second, making sure he doesn't take too much damage on his units just yet. I do believe he means to attack, but he's just so hard. Trap is so well set up defensively. Serral coming in from both sides here. Huge Storms landing. There's still so many Banelings left over. He wants to connect with that entire chunk of this army, but he gets pushed back.
Perfect defense by Trap. A terrible engagement from Serral, and he throws away a ton of units, kills next to nothing, only a few gateway units. Trap, suddenly, he's been down at 120 supply versus a maxed out Serral all game long, but it has been low-tech supply from Serral, and it is not paying off. He's tried to break this third too many times, and I think he's thrown away that army advantage. Now Trap feels safe to take a fourth base. Trap even trying to get a warp in here. Zerglings will catch that and shut it down. But I feel like Serral, he's given away a bit of the advantage. A bit of his momentum is gone. Now Trap going to edge towards the fourth base, and Serral going to say, okay, let's fall back. Let's spread creep, try to tech up.
Yeah, now going for Cruise Spines as well as +2 melee. Serral is one of those guys that if he can reach Broodlords, he's very good with them. But it's a scary time when Protoss starts amassing a lot of Immortals and High Templars and Archons. There's always going to be the potential for an attack, which can be oh so scary if you're Zer kind of stuck on lair tech for a very long time. So we actually have a Fleet Beacon now on the way for Tribe, who might just want to head into a Mothership and potential Tempest to try and counter the Broodlords here that a lot of the time here you can kind of anticipate are going to be coming. Greater Spire starts morphing. Late game Dark Shrine out of Trap. I kind of like that. His defense has been very good, but Trap hasn't built up his economy too heavily, by the way. He's on 61 workers only.
Yeah, I'd like to see a fifth base and about 15 more probes at least for Trap here. You know, he's been getting battered and bruised so long all game. I think he might still be stuck in the mindset of, okay, Serral's about to hit me with the next killing wave. I need to just mass units and hang on. But that isn't really the case. And I think it's starting to dawn on Trap as he begins to queue up 5 workers at a time. Corruptors are already on the way for Serral, though. Broodlords are going to be out in about 1 minute's time. Tempest production hasn't even begun. Only now is the Mothership starting.
I think Serral's doing a very good job of not overextending anymore. Like, he realizes that so far Trap's defense has been on point, so he's kind of staying on creep. He's got, obviously he can get a great engagement on creep with the speed of his units there and all the vision that he's going to have to set up a perfect fight. But with the Corruptors on the way, you want to wait for those Broodlords to actually kick in. He might want to get rid of some of that supply here. I feel like it's a little bit early. He needs to be careful and get some effective trades, but sacrifices a lot here. Not really killing too much here, though Serral.
Immortal Archon Cannon Shield Battery Storm is one of the most efficient defensive compositions. When it comes to these mid-game units, if you don't have like a pack of lurkers or something, you just cannot break that with a small army. DTs are running right on past that big Ling Bane force in the south. Going to try and snipe some Expos off. We've got Spores going down in the middle of the map, I believe, here for Serral, or maybe just at all of his bases. Broodlords are morphing. He's preparing for the endgame, the mass Sky War.
Serral has always been so good at this. Sieging with the defense, like bring some Spores, bring some Spines, make sure he gets more than just the 200 supply that you're limited to in StarCraft. And those DTs, actually, are they doing anything? I see them not really moving there. They're waiting for the right time to strike.
Yeah, they're just going to hide and wait for now. We are seeing this army posturing around. Still a lot of units like roaches in the composition. Serral not too comfortable with forcing an engagement. DTs are going to run in on this base. Luckily, a few Hydras and roaches not too far away will be able to defend that. And it is a nice trade for Serral. Serral now, finally, starting to press forward with the Broodlords. He's got to be careful of the Storm. Storm will eradicate the Roach Hydra, and it does! Trap landing them perfectly. Serral not realizing that army was there. It's cloaked by the Mothership, and Trap is taking massive damage.
He's just going to chase this massive Zerg army, lands Storm on top of everything. The Broodlords are so bruised. Serral is losing everything in an instant here. Trap jumping on top of the opportunity here to destroy this army completely. GG gets called, and Serral, wow, he assembled this army over time. It looked like he was going to be able to set up a good siege, but he might have gone in a little bit too quick here, and Trap, it was a trap after all.
A mass of Zergling Baneling was still sitting in the bottom left-hand side of that map, which Serral actually forgot about. Even after that fight, he actually was back up to 170 supply, but he knew losing all of his tech units, it wasn't going to be able to stop that push. Serral, I've got to say, blundering a little bit in the middle stages of that game, getting a bit too focused on shutting down the third, walking into Trap's perfect defense. I mean, honestly, 120 supply versus max, you're not meant to hang on there. It doesn't matter what the composition is. It doesn't matter what the defensive position is. Trap executed that so damned well.
Usually, Serral is the one setting the pace. He's the one doing the attacks and kind of putting Protoss on the back foot, attacking in multiple places, but now Trap was the one doing that. What happens when Serral gets shut down, when his attacks gets defunded? That's what happens. Trap is the one going on the offensive with the Dark Templars, making Serral, not Elaser, look away from his army for just 1 second, and that's when he decided to jump on top of these Broodlords, which, I mean, Serral had to take the fight. You can't let like 6 Broodlords die and be like, oh yeah, no, don't worry about it, I'll just remake them and then take the next fight. So very tough spot here from there for Serral. He's gonna have to stay patient, keep on playing well. There was a lot of things that I think he did well. It's just Trap defensively was insanely good that first game.
Yep, great defense to pull that one back. It was an amazing start for Serral. He got going very, very well after the early game interactions, and no doubt he is just solving that problem in his head right now, saying, where did that game go wrong? And I'm pretty sure he will know he was far ahead with the Ravager Baneling. Realistically, if you think about it, there were other paths to finish the game. Baneling drops, dropping big masses of roaches in the main base, not attacking through those choke points on the third. Those were the secret to the Storms killing everything. Alternatively, if you want to sit back, go to the Lurkers, go to the Broodlords, show us all of that play, which you've shown us many times before, Serral. Those are the answers here. Trap, no doubt, wanting to get a cleaner early game after having to fight his way back into that one from behind. All right, here we go, map number 2. Spawning up here in the top right-hand side. Let's give it up for the finished Zerg. He is Serral.
His opponents, people keep doubting him. He reminded everybody he's one of the best out there in the last game. It is Trap.
Wow, they're quick on these cheerfuls.
I got nothing to say about this.
I mean, the Admiral Akbar one was clearly wrong from before. It was a trap going into those storms on that third base, man. So good to see the cheerful meta is updating and trying to keep up with the gameplay.
Trap, I have to say, this wasn't the typical game from him. Like, he's not necessarily known for, you know, just kind of sitting back and defending super well, but that's pretty much what he did. So we'll see if he goes a little bit more on the offensive in that game. Like, he played the mind games, I think, pretty well, adjusted to what Serral was doing. Didn't overbuild his economy, you know, like we talked about that, but his lower walker count is really what allowed him to do so well, because he had more units, and then because he was trading very well, he didn't have to replace his own units, so he didn't need to have 70 plus walkers. Just the 61 that he had, he maxed out on, and his army was just so strong.
So much Storm in there, as well as the Immortals Archons. The Mothership offering its cloak. Very nice play there from Trap in game number 1. Game number 2 is going to be here on Blackpink, yet another macro-focused map, and this is kind of what you expect from these two players. Biogenesis, of course, was vetoed out when we saw the maps on screen before, And I'm not sure if we're going to see Catalyst either. I think that might have also been dropped out. But interesting to see how this series develops. Both players opening up with some standard macro play to kick things off.
You know, last game, I think there were a few times where Serral made Trap use a lot of force fields, then storms. And because Trap was kind of running out of those, Serral should have gone for it. He should have kept going, and maybe he would have connected with the Banelings and killed everything. Yeah. But then that's the moment he started pulling back. So I'm not sure if he saw that there was enough energy from the sentries, that the setup from Protoss was just too good, that he couldn't afford to go for more attacks. But it's kind of weird to send one wave. You get force fielded and storm, 2 waves, you get force fielded and storm, and you're like, I've lost a lot of my army, I'm going to pull back. I felt like he needed to go for the throat. He needed to keep attacking, but he didn't.
You know, definitely decisiveness, confidence in these high-pressure moments is one of the most important skills you can have as a player. And Serral not starting off this series the way he wanted to. He is going to have to rally so far. Everything looking good in this game. This is a player who just tends to outperform most of the opposition mechanically, just speed-wise. He seems to get more workers out. He seems to scout everything more actively. When he gets Zerglings in your base, he doesn't miss a beat back home with his macro. That is the sort of level of player you're playing against, and that does put pressure on Trap already, simply to play beyond normal expectations.
Yeah.
Any mistake will get punished when you're playing against Serral.
And if you think about what Trap did right, like you might think, you know, of the fights and the defense and all, but he was setting that up because of the air units. He dealt some drone damage in the start. He was tagging the army consistently, so he saw the perfect army movement. And those Phoenixes, was Rotti playing Archon and controlling the Phoenixes? Because that's how good they looked, those 4 Phoenixes. They killed so much stuff.
Oh, yeah. We saw a lot of damage go down there in that early game. And that Phoenix here first is going to open up. Nice quick Twilight Council to follow it up. Most likely Glaive Adept opening when we see it go down in this order. Of course, the defense so far for Serral has been good. He's just squeezing out a few more Zerglings as well as non-stop drone production. These Adepts trying to catch the Zerglings and shut down Serral's vision.
Yeah, Serral still looking to try and creep spread as much as he can early on. He kind of slowed down at some point in the previous game. I guess he didn't really come into play. Like, towards the end, he was technically on creep while setting up the siege towards the 4th base of Trap, which I really believe would have looked like a different game if he had had his entire army there and kind of taken his time a little bit more up until the point he had more Brutals, because Trap really neglected the Tempest production, I believe, in that game.
I
love the perfect engagements.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't at that air fleet point of the game. I love the Spore Crawler micro from Serral when that Phoenix comes in. He immediately refocus fired on the Oracle, forced it out after just 2 worker kills, so heavily bruised now.
This is dangerous, but it looks like Serral is really respecting it by getting a lot of links. Look at this, 18 more on the way, he's morphing Banelings. If this shade goes forward, Serral is supposed to kind of crush it. Yeah, that's going to be a cancel. I think Trap fully realizes that he forced a lot of units already, so he kind of kept Serral lower on the walker count. He never really meant to commit here. Look at Glaive's timing. It's not even finished yet.
It's not finished, but now he's bringing the reinforce across. So notice how Serral swapped back into drones.
Yeah.
So this could create a little bit of a feeling of safety from Serral. He may commit, but I think upon seeing that many... Oh, does he see it? I don't know if he sees that many Banelings. I think he's caught a glimpse just barely. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does back off for now. You can see Serral with Atling Bane hungry to catch the Adepts, to shut those down. And we get to see the first-person view of one of the fastest players in the tournament. Serral is so quick and so precise.
And one of the cleanest mechanically as well. Like, he's just so incredibly good. You know, I spoke with Stefano before, and he told me that he had never respected a StarCraft player, but Serral is the only one that he ever respected. I was pretty surprised, actually.
And with good reason. Stefano famous for his precision, accuracy, and not wasting many actions. But Serral here, he has the pinpoint accuracy of a surgeon. Does get a little bit surprised by these Adepts, but so quickly pulls off drones, focus fires those Adepts down while also injecting his hatcheries. This is the sort of play we see from Serral. And even after all of this action, he's up 10 workers. He's got the Hydra tech and the Baneling tech on the way, and this is a composition I like to see from the Finnish player. No more of those clunky Roaches and Ravagers. These units going to dish out the hurt.
Yeah, Roach Ravager didn't work. It might be a good time here to go for Hydralisk, Kling, and Bane. And hitting the timing, a pre-storm timing could be great, or even as Protoss get storm. Usually they're not going to have that many. Just fight before there is too many Immortals and Storms for you to handle. That might be, I think, a very good plan there. If Serral was to go for something like that, we'll see when he starts making units non-stop. Right now he's on 66 walkers. and making a ton of them already.
Oh, this Adept drop, constant action from Trap here, really delaying a lot of mining time from Serral, and a big push. 5 sentries, a ton of Adepts, and an Immortal. We've seen Trap fake this sort of push in the past, but this time it is real. 8 more Adepts warping in on the top. He is going for broke right now. Baneling speed not quite ready. Serral needs a lot of Hydras and Banelings to hang on against this.
Yeah, he's getting only units here right now. We see the production type is getting so many things actually. Some of them could actually complete, that'd be great, but the sentries are going to be the real threat here. This is where you go Roaches, this is where you go Ravagers, because if you can't break those sentries, it's going to be a big problem. Serral evacuates his extra base there, resaturating the other one. He can drop Banelings on top of this army. I think that's going to be the plan here.
Yeah, he's got those Baneling drops going forwards, getting some massive hits on the sentries and the Adepts. So many Adepts get hit there. A few of them shade through to the other side, but the Queens are making mincemeat out of that. Serral does lose the 3rd base, but he's got a 4th hatchery up anyway. More Hydras on the way. A ton of Adepts coming in. It's tied neck and neck right now. It's all about those Queens trying to buy time. There's no Banelings left, Todd. There's nothing to deal with these Adepts.
Yeah, the army of Serral evaporated here, and Trap has a lot left over. Remember, he can keep on warping in Adepts. 8 by 8. It just doesn't stop.
Wow.
And there is no way to take out that Prism either. He's covering it with all of his units. Snipes another very important hatchery, taking out a lot of the production of Serral, who's going to come in from behind. He's going to have to take this fight and clean this up.
The Banelings trying to get on top of these Adepts, but the spreads are good. Trap here with the perfect timing for this particular game. Counters Serral's strategy of going up to the Hydra Baneling and takes a 2-0 lead. We keep on underestimating him, but the Wing Commander is back in full force. He's up 2-0 now. And what an incredible turn of events. A decisive timing attack off just 53 workers. It was a fake 3rd base all along.
The timing hit just on time before Zerg was going to have enough army to really deal with this. I don't think that the 5 drones that Serral started during the move-outs were the biggest of deals. Obviously, it didn't help his case, but it's just before Serral was going to comfortably load up these overlords and be ready to properly fight against this army. So as much as he has some good connections with the Banelings, it's so hard to fight this kind of army just before you have enough. In this case, like, he committed a lot to the Zerglings and Banes. He didn't have that many Hydralisks to really help deal with this. There was a lot of Queens at the front, but Queens, if you run out of other units, in this case the Lings and Banes, they're not that good by themselves against just the Adepts, plus the one Immortal that was killing everything, by the way.
Yeah, Queen's great anti-air, great tanking, they're great meat sacks, but if you don't have the Hydras or the Banelings with them to get rid of the Adepts, they really just don't dish out that much damage. And Serral there with a devastating loss. You can see the conflict on his face there. He's obviously upset. We all know, as the observers, of course, how far ahead he was in Game 1, and I guarantee you, he did as well. But these are the moments that define these players. When they are down, when they aren't necessarily living up to their own expectations, how can they find a way to center their mind, bring themselves back to a fresh reset, come in with a new mindset and say, look, I've got to win 3 games in a row, rather than tensing up and getting stiff in my play, rather than putting too much pressure on my shoulders. How can I just clear my mind and go into the next game with those killer instincts?
Just forget about Game 1 and 2. Just keep on playing Starcraft the way you would on ladder. Play your best Starcraft, Serral. I do believe he can still do this. It just kind of feels like Trap. The stars align pretty well for him in a lot of these engagements and actions. We'll see if that continues here with map number 3 coming up.
And that was a very quick second game there. We're about to dive into the 3rd one to see if this man can make a comeback. He needs your support now more than ever. He needs to win the next 3 games in a row. The Zerg player from Finland in the bottom left-hand side of the map. It is Serral!
His opponent in the North position. He's made top 4 higher in every single non-Korean tournament he's ever attended. Playing as the Red Protoss, it is Trap.
You know, I'm really becoming a fan of Trap the more I watch him throughout this tournament. Even in the open bracket, we saw such a huge release of emotion with every important match that he won there on the mainstream. He said, it is such a pleasure to be out here, of course, on the foreign stage with the fans from outside of Korea. And This is what he lives for. This is what he competes for. These moments to try and make a name for himself, win that notoriety, and if he can close this out, he will be going through to the top 4. That would be an incredible day of StarCraft. If Trap can take down Dark and then Serral and get through to the semifinals, he wins not only a ton more money, but the chance to play on that big main stage in the Spodek Arena, the chance to potentially win it all.
This tournament really is, I feel like the return of the Protosses that you wouldn't expect would do the best. Like you don't, SOS is out. Stats is not out there doing well. I guess Classic is one of those bigger names of Protoss doing well, but Deer and Trap are in the quarterfinals. These are not the Protosses that you would expect would have made it this far and done this well in this tournament. Now Trap is one map away from making the semifinals, which would be a big result. This is crazy. He's going up against a Serral that beat everybody in the group stage and making it look easy.
He's looked so strong so far. Last year, of course, was the story of a few Terran players who continued to make big names for themselves throughout the year. Players like Gumiho, players like Alive started to show incredible promise and resurgence at IEM Katowice 2017. Here in 2018, this could be the beginning of a great year for Trap. But he's still got to close this series out. We are on Eastwatch. Trap scouting, confirming there is no gold expansion. Serral going to chase him home, and I got to tell you, if there's one player who's not going to crack mentally and start doing crazy weird builds when he's behind it, Serral. He will stick to what he knows best, and that is reflexive, reactive macro play. He likes to adapt and control the gameplay.
And although like Trap, just because he's up 2-0, he's not going to start goofing around. He truly respects Serral once again, because for his best opener, really, like with his targets, is so impressive. We nicknamed him the Wing Commander for a reason. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw once again a Phoenix into double Oracle just to try and kill some more drones, because Trap is one of those Protosses that when he gets those air units out, you can expect he will do the most damage out of what's possible. Even against Terran, yesterday, he was incredible. Like pulling back outside of the range of Widow Mines on time, flying in wherever the Widow Mines weren't and killing a bunch of stuff. I don't know what it is. Like this guy, man. I think Trap must watch every single replay of the games where he plays with target units ever, so he knows about all the possible movements from the opponent. Like that's the only explanation I see. He's just so good with him.
Always seems to find an opening to do some damage. Is going to be going for the Robo and the Twilight follow-up, so looking like game number 1. Remember, that one didn't work out so well for Trap in the opening stage, going for the Archon charge lot pressure, something Serral was incredibly well prepared for. This time around, though, Serral is not opting for the Roach Warren. He's going to spot the Robo, and I think that may prompt a Roach Warren in response, but Serral might just try to go Hydra Zergling Baneling again. Gonna have to keep our eye on that production tab. It's definitely looking like a straight to Hydra play. This is very risky if Trap commits to the charge lot Archon.
Ooh, here we go. Pick up on the Queen here. Oracle's gonna fly in. Actually pretty well defended here.
Just immediately targets the Oracle with the Sporkle, and no one else reacts that fast, but somehow he's always on point with it.
And still now, that Queen is gonna chase that away. So Trap will be forced back for now, but we have a couple more gateways on the way here, Charge and the Templar Archives. Actually, that's more than just a couple here. 4 additional gates.
3 actually. So he's going to be up to... Oh, there we go, 4th. Oh, he's dropping more gateways. Okay, here we go. Oh, did those Zerglings see that? Yes, they did. That's actually
But they didn't see the ones in the main. I guess timing-wise, he might be able to realize.
Timing-wise, that is a huge tell. Yeah, he's going to start pumping roaches immediately. Starts roach speed. It's a good reaction from Serral. The important thing is to not get too comfortable and say, oh, I've got 10 roaches. Let's go back to building drones. No, you need to build 20 roaches at least, Serral. Yeah. You've really got to focus hard on the defense.
The hard part I feel for Zerg from there is the scouting, because you can't really afford to go for pneumatized carapace, right? So what tool do you have to scout? Those Zerglings, that's it. But you can't get into the natural, you can't get into the main. And all you can see is like, I mean, that third base going up, but it doesn't really tell you anything. So Serral, he kind of has to guess. He's still getting a couple drones here and there. Now he's going to see those 2 Archons enter that side here of his base.
Ooh, Queens are going to come forward and try to save that. Nice transfuses on the Overlord to save that. No damage done just yet. Baneling Nest and Evo Chamber does look like the Ravager Ling Bane style once again, Todd.
Yeah. Serral, he tried that before in game number 1, was shut down with some of the attacks, but He might just feel like he was forced here to go into that. I think he was just scared because he can't really see what's happening on the other side of the map.
Yeah, this is a very safe way to play, and you can transition into Hydras. I think Serral just got a little bit too pig-headed with it, a little bit too headstrong, trying to force his way into his opponent's base.
Where's the Overseer that he just morphed?
Seer is just on the defense, just making sure no DTs come in here to surprise. Of course, the Archon's trying to clean up this creep as actively as possible. Trap does not want to let that creep get all over the map. Baneling speed is now on the way. Serral with a very healthy worker lead. I mean, this is it. When you're in a straightforward game, I feel like Serral almost inevitably seems to gain an edge, and he gets the room to put down the Spire. The one thing missing for Serral is he doesn't have the fourth base yet, but ooh, that's an interesting Spire spot.
Yeah, in the right bottom side of the map here, with an overall dropping creep. Trap, it's very unlikely that he will see this. Like, you're not supposed to send hallucinated Phoenixes like all the way around, so likely he won't be seeing it at all, but there's also a chance he doesn't even care and he does his own attack. We'll see. I mean, he's getting a Phoenix right now. He can't, I guess, he saw the amount of Zerglings. Maybe he's like, well, this is weird because you're just not making units that cost gas, so there is a decent chance you, I mean, Phoenixes, they are not that expensive, right? You can just make a bunch of them and find yourself safer against Mutalisks.
I think he's been studying Serral's style. He knows mutas are a big threat with this player. And that
something
is
down there.
He's keeping his eye out. The Warp Prism was down there as well.
Almost spotted it.
I don't think it saw it though. Yeah, it was kind of skimming past the edges.
That was close.
Didn't quite see it exactly. Serral still in a good position here. He's going up towards that Spire play. Phoenix patrolling around the map. Trap going for Storm. He's got the Immortals, Charge Lots and Sentries moving out to do a little bit of pressure.
Where are all the Phoenixes? Because he's made a few now. It's almost as if Trap is just waiting for those mutas to hit him, and he's going to jump on top of them with the Phoenixes and kill them all and be in a great spot here.
Yeah, I think this is a really smart way to play. I mean, you think about it, you know Serral's doing this every game. Even with the Proxy Spire, it seems like Trap is just one step ahead, reading his opponent's mind.
Does Serral fly across the map and go into the main base, or does he try and catch the Prism? I think going for the main base is better, because the Prism, I mean, you don't really catch the Prism. Prism catches you if it drops the Archons, right? So, we'll see. Yeah, he's going all the way around. I think he's headed for the main.
I think either way, this is a disastrous investment for Serral, right? He's going for the main where there's 4 or 5 Phoenix waiting for him. He's not going to be able to do anything against this.
Trap is literally waiting for this. This is so sick.
He somehow knows exactly. Oh, he has an Observer in the base as well.
He has a cannon in the middle line. Force fills a bunch of Zerglings in. He has so much vision, by the way. Trap, I think he has 1 Observer around the natural. And now it's Phoenix time here. Serral will be sad to find out that there were Phoenixes waiting for him the whole time. He's going to try to chase them, but he doesn't achieve any economic damage. The Mutas are such a big investment. Even if he can deal with some of the Phoenixes here, those Mutas eventually are going to die. And Trap gets such an important snipe. He needs to keep on macroing, by the way. Like, his minerals are going quite a bit up. I know killing the Mutas are important, but he's pretty much already done that.
This is my stream. He's floating 1,400 minerals. So obviously very focused on that engagement. Losing 2 Phoenixes did make it a little bit scary, but he shuts down the Mutalisks, gets back on top of everything else. He's even going to snipe down the 6th base expand down here in the bottom. Serral going to move to defend that. Now, he's building a few more Mutalisks, so I think he's going to try and shut down the Warp Prism with that. But this is really a huge wasted investment for Serral, and this buys Trap time to get to the late game. Serral here, he just committed to so many Mutalisks, hasn't gotten any damage done for the beginning, and there's still a good squad of, those Phoenix out. Phoenix shutting down the Mutas at the same time the Spire goes down. Oh, this is a disaster. Trap countering Serral's play before it even got going.
And immediately upon losing this, Serral starts a Hydralisk Den and an Infestation Pit, thinking of transitioning. I don't think... Okay, listen, Trap has been very patient with one of his own attack, but he's done so well in this game and has so many item plus with a lot of energy that is so tempting for him to move across the map and try and get a good engagement. It's still going to be tricky because Serral's creep spread is quite good. He needs to kind of push that back. You can't really fight on creep a lot of the time. You're going to get surrounded and be forced into a bad fight. But when the game is going this well, I have to say it's quite hard to tell yourself, okay, I'm just going to sit back and wait anymore. A lot of cannons. Trap is playing so well against the style of Serral, or against the style that he's known to play. Ooh, he's on creep, actually. This is dangerous.
Scary push, though. So many Archons. He's picking up the Banelings. The Storms are massive on these Banelings. So many going down, washing up against the Archons. Serral's gold base is in the open. His mutas are trying to defend, but they're not going to help in the frontal fight at all. And this is a beautiful push from Trap. He's going to take out this expansion. I'd love him to recall after that. I don't want to see him stay here too long. Here we go. Serral trying to punish Banelings, running forward. The Immortals starting to fall to the Ling Bane. The Archon's disappearing. Trap's army gets obliterated. He's done a bunch of worker damage though.
And those Phoenixes are going to reign supreme here. Kill some of these queens, fly back across the map to try and defend here for Trap. Serral is on the counter-attack. He's committed so much to this. Finally defended a huge attack from Trap. Catches a bunch of Zealots. 94 army supply to 59. Does Serral actually go for it? Looks like not. He's kind of waiting for Hydralisk to be out there, maybe so that he can deal with those Phoenixes. Trap is, for the most part, spent a lot of storms. Was forced into make Archons that died. So he's not going to have that many storms here. But maybe Serral doesn't think he can break him anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Serral doing this, building up enough Hydras to contest the Phoenixes. That way he'll be able to defend everything, push him back, allowing Serral, of course, to respread creep, which is something which is very important. He needs to keep going, and he can re-drone. Serral needs to get back up to about 80 drones. If he can do that, he stabilizes, he's up in supply, he's going for the Lurker tech now. It's going to reset this game a little bit.
Yeah, Serral resets not just the Archon count, but the Immortal count as well. So he might be content just kind of sitting back, re-droning back up. You see he's taking a lot of bases. He's still got mutas for mobility.
2 High Templar go down. These mutas, of course, kind of worthless with such a huge Phoenix count out. He's just trying to kill whatever he can. Picking off exposed probes, a good choice here, but he might have gone too deep with these mutas. No, he's actually going to be able to extricate them out of there. This is really cool, because as long as that pack of mutas is alive, a Prism cannot threaten him. It will get hunted down immediately. And Trap still having a little bit of a cheeky watch there with that observer. He's kind of staring at everything that's going on. A huge Zealot warp in on the south side is going to come in. I do worry a little bit for Serral here. He's trying to go into Lurkers up against triple Robo Immortal production. That's not the best position for him.
Yeah, I mean, he has so many options, right? Because he's getting Adrenal Glands. Nice recall out of there. Actually saves so many Zealots here by Trap. Such a high-level play once again as he grabs the late-game Dark Shrine. And in this kind of game, they've been fighting so much that a lot of the time it's going to be hard to have spores everywhere covering you very well. And even if there are, you can still send in 2-3 DTs, snipe that spore, and then go to town on those drones, or even take out a very important base or hatchery. So I kind of like that by Trap, especially on 4 bases. You can really afford to spare a few of those Dark Templars to do some almost guaranteed damage a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, you know, I'd love to actually see a Viper or 2 come out, drop some parasitic bombs on these Phoenix. Later on, of course, abducting or blinding clouding the army, but something a lot of Zerg players don't really focus on is the High Templar feedback, just a bit too brutal against them in the engagements. We do see Serral trying to probe up to a super high count. Trap already up at a very nice economy. Trap starting to transition into the Sky Army, and his Zealot counterattacks are continuing to be such a nuisance for Serral.
I'm a little bit surprised the mutas are staying across the map. I guess their time has come. Like, Serral's trying to do as much with them as he can before replacing them with something else. Yeah, maybe trying to fight the Phoenixes, but this is going to be in vain. And now there's the very interesting scenario where Trap has a lot of Phoenixes. They actually could be useful against something like Lurkers in picking them up. Absolutely. Especially because Adaptive Talents is on the way, and these guys will burrow almost instantaneously.
Oh, he's going to try and catch the Phoenixes. They accidentally fly in. And 1 or 2 Phoenix do fall, the rest heavily bruised. Double upgrades are on the way for Serral. He's staying on Lair Tech for now. Just those adaptive talons, that is the Lurker upgrade, which gives them movement speed and most importantly, burrow speed. So they can actually just run around, popping in and out of the ground at will. That's finished now. Serral adding up another 10 drones. He wants to go up close to 90 workers. Oh,
wow. 20 probes going down here as the Phoenixes will try and exact revenge of that Zerg army, chasing it down, picking up a lot of these units and taking them out. Both players trading non-stop. There hasn't been almost any downtime ever in that game.
Oh, there we go. The Phoenix take a big hit. Trap loses almost all of them. I mean, they weren't the most useful unit at this point anyway, but he would have loved to keep them just to disable those Lurkers. Zealots continuing to run in from all sides with that +3 upgrade on those charge lots doing so well. Great Lurker spread here from Serral. He's trying to just hang on the defense. And fortunately for him, he's been wise enough to build such a high worker count, even when he loses 7 or 8.
Worst recall of all time.
He's so high. Oh, did he just try to recall those?
Yeah, he tried to recall and they all died. That attack looks so scary actually from Trap. There is so many Immortals. If not for the Lurkers, I think Serral might have just died here. But now he's set up with the Lurkers defensively. This is the one thing that can keep him alive. to maybe try and make it into something like Brood Lords, but Trap's trying to use the mobility of his army, and so is Serral. Goes for the counter-attack across the map with some Roaches, and Hydra is looking to try and put some hurt here on Trap, who's already kind of replenished pretty well actually on the walker counts.
He's going to try and take this down. I like this trade here from Serral. Obviously the reinforcement's going to come in from behind, but not before he does manage to focus down all of the cannons and hopefully a good handful of probes. With some good focus fire, Serral can still be annoying there. Does take down a couple before getting cleaned up. And very good play from both sides. DT's coming in from there for Trap, and Serral seems to be out-positioning him after what seemed like a disastrous Mutalisk tech choice in the early game. Oh man, 9 probes rally into the Lurker Splash and die. Trap's worker count taking a beating in this game, but his Immortal count, that is so scary right now. We have 14 Immortals, another 2 about to pop, and really, Serral does not have Broodlords yet. He doesn't have a unit that hard counters them. He can defend Immortals with Lurkers, but it relies on him using choke points. He needs to hold a defensive position, otherwise those Immortals will smash his army.
Both players are so mobile. They keep attacking everywhere with the tools given to their race here. In this case, the War Prism for Trap is still across the map, getting almost a cancel on one of those bases there. Trap still moving forward. He's got the Mothership now. Where are the Vipers here? I feel like some Vipers could be very important for some abducts, some blinding clouds, especially when you have this many lurkers. I feel like Serral might have neglected that a little bit.
I mean, he's going to need more lurkers probably here as well, I think, to take this on. There we go, nice counterattack, a great storm on the defense, but he's going to get the gold base, I do believe.
Trap is almost out of minerals, a little bit everywhere actually. He's kind of running out of economy here.
I don't know if his recall's cooled down either. I feel like he wasted that one before. Oh no! So many Immortals getting trapped out on the map.
No pun intended, hopefully. And yeah, Serral just won't let this army escape unscathed, punishes a lot of it, and all of a sudden we're in a situation where Trap's not maxed out. His economy has been destroyed largely, whereas Serral is maxed out and is building up quite a bit of economy here.
Oh, this is a scary army though. You've got to be careful, Serral. Yes, you've got the momentum, but one missed engage and you can still throw it away. That army of Immortals and Storm is nothing to be trifled with. Plus 2 Plasma Shields is also about to finish. This is such a scary Protoss force, and Trap is on the warpath. He'd love to crush this army, run across the map and win the game right now.
Yeah, +3 missile attacks just completed here for Serral. He's going to be pretty happy about that, considering his army is almost exclusively ranged with so many lurkers. Trap might be losing patience. He'll still be getting counter-attacked on the other side of the map. His fourth Nexus under threat. He's going to go for the recall, but Serral is just going to walk out of there.
Some of the units recalling from literally only one screen away. Here we go. Serral going to move forward, a little bit ambitious. Is going to jump on top of a section of this army. His lurkers morphed. So many of them are there. The Overseers actually aren't in position right now. The Overseers ran away for a second, but great spreads against the Storm. Beautiful storms blanketing the army. Both sides trading armies right now, but a few lurkers still standing strong, and the observers have been focused down. Only one still there. The Hydras are all going to disappear. At the end, both sides' armies disappear. Serral still with a few units standing, and a massive bank allowing him to remax with 27 Hydralisks and 5 Queens.
Serral with a massive fight win might be able to just swarm Trap here from there down to the last few units. He's trying to micro out of this one, using the Prism, picking up one of the Immortals, regrouping. Greater Spire is now going to start, and Serral, having defended against the War Prism finally, I mean, there's still one more on the map. He's able to keep on saturating those bases that he's been relentless about trying to take. Oh my god,
man,
the War Prism gets caught on the map, and with that, Trap's army stands at 43 supply against the 132 of Serral, who I think is about to put an end to this.
Serral, the hero of the group stage, the Finnish champ, the guy who has been absolutely crushing it, almost goes out but says no, despite his build order being countered, his Mutalisks washing up into a wave of Phoenixes. He manages to pull it back. He wins the long game. The multitasking is insane. The counterattacks and positioning is insane. A bit of confidence there as he does rally in that game. Trap, of course, he was up 2-0, 1 game away from closing it out. It's the same position he dealt with earlier today against Dark. He was up 2-0. Dark managed to bring it back to 2-2, and Trap could barely finish it out in the end. This is a very scary position to find yourself in once again. It's going to be a hard-fought series. We've got a few more games coming right up, but first of all, let's go over to Kaelaris and the guys on the desk.
Feels like a while since I've actually seen you. It's been so long, those last 3 games. Here at the desk, our boys have been diligently looking through the replays of those games.
I'm trying so hard to find that cool moment when the lurkers actually caught like 4 or 5 goals. Oh, dude. Such a long game.
We'll come to that game 3 in a moment, of course. But Artosis, starting with game number 1, do you have something for us?
Yeah, we can take a look. Because, okay, it's like 2-1, and it looked for a little bit in game 3.
Yeah.
Like, Serral was actually going to lose, and it was going to be a 3-0, and I'm sitting there next to Maynarde, and I was like, I said this wasn't going to be Hurricane versus Rogue.
No!
But anyways, let's go to game 1, because Serral was actually ahead. Like, look at this position. It's pretty good, right? He's getting his Greater Spire. Trap is, like, kind of stuck in his bases. He has a good economy. He has good units and stuff. But it was almost like Serral was trying too hard to end the game, right? Like, we saw a lot of attacks up. Look at this defensible area. Like, you are not doing anything there.
It's really powerful.
And I mean, if you just look at the mini-map for the most part, you can see Serral keeps on splitting up his units, and there were some attacks in here where he is just, like, going up hills, getting stormed everywhere, and, like, he just kind of was bleeding off his lead for a really long time. I wasn't very good at showing that replay, but
that's fine. I get what you mean.
It happened.
Yeah, and there were multiple moments as well where those armies came in. It was like 3/4 of the army would move in, and then another quarter would move in like 10 seconds afterwards, and then just have the same fate befall it. Anyway, thank you very much, Artosis. Game number 3, we've skipped game 2 because we have 2 laptops, so we're showing you the start, the middle, and then maybe the end later on. So, Maynarde, what do you have for us? Anything?
I have the moment where the dream became alive for Serral, I feel. So these Phoenixes were being a real pain in the backside. That hidden Spire tech, obviously that happened a lot earlier in the game. The hidden Spire tech was completely countered by Trap without him even really seeing it. But that moment right there just caught those Phoenixes. And look at this. There is a ton of Immortals here for Trap. And this is the part where he just sort of, I think he herps when he should have derps a little bit here. Like he's getting those Immortals caught by the lurkers here of Serral. Adaptive Talons does, I mean, these counterattacks for starters, while we're waiting for that moment, these counterattacks kept Serral alive. We can see that Serral's still quite a bit down. Like, yeah, he's up in army supply, but as far as tech goes, as far as army viability goes, the Adaptive Talons lurkers are where it's at. And then he has this big attack. So he's doing damage. He's got a Nexus on the top, and there's the Nexus on the south. He's sitting from the north and the south, James.
That's right,
there's a big tag there on the lurkers. I'm trying, oh God, please. Replay, please. Can I have a caught Immortals one time? I'm trying to find it.
Can I get a Immortals,
Can I get a caught Immortal one time? Replay. All right, okay, so this is a massive amount of splash damage here for Serral.
Oh,
bam!
There it is!
Got him!
There it is! You got him!
And that was actually a huge pick-off there. Like, look at the Immortals. He's up to 12, but he's producing for the last 10 minutes of these Immortals, so that really got reset. This Nexus is dead. This Nexus is dead. He's retaken it, and Serral is back in the game. And of course, we saw that his engagements from then on, it was like the first half of the game, nothing went right for Serral. And then the last half of the game, nothing went right for Trap. He even sent off a Warp Prism later on, which just got caught by some Hydras. And that was just done with. Like, this isn't even the one I'm thinking of. It was filled with Gateway units, and that was the nail in the coffin for Trap. He just couldn't do damage to Serral anymore. And Serral, even though this is a late game Tier 3 super scary Protoss army, Serral just kept winning engagement after engagement after engagement. And I'm like, you could probably tell by the excitement in my voice, heart's going a little bit fast. I'm very, very excited to see that Serral is fighting back. I really hope this goes to Game 5.
And we're going to be going to Game 4 here. Thank you very much, boys. So let's head back over to the commentary team to go into Game number 4.
Good to learn some pro replay analysis tips there from Maynarde. Apparently, you shout at the replay repeatedly to show you the point that you want to see. Thank you very much, Maynarde, for helping us out.
Got him. Good job, Maynarde. Fantastic series, Big. I have to say, I was getting a little bit worried it was going to be a 3-0, but Serral really bringing it back beautifully. Like, these games, I'm looking at them, like, I know these guys are good, but this is just non-stop action from start to finish. If one of the things that they do a little worse, the game ends. But somehow they play those super long games, and through those entire games, they barely make any major mistakes. It's just a few mistakes here and there, and they go toe-to-toe, Pig.
You can see Serral talking to himself in the booth there. no doubt reciting his build orders, his game plans, trying to figure out what he should do better. Trap so focused right now on the other side as well. This is such an important match. The winner will be going through to the semi-finals tomorrow. Let's introduce these players up here in the top left-hand side of Backwater. In the blue, representing ENC Esports, he is Serral!
His opponents making Protosses proud around the world. In the red and in the south, it is Trap.
He's looking so good this tournament. Trap stepping up his game and delivering. It's been a lot of the same openings from him, and we've seen him diverge in two different paths off his Oracle opening. One is the Glaive Depth Pressure, the other one is the Robotics and the Twilight going for the Archons and the Charge Lots. We haven't really seen him move away from these two paths, and I feel like at this point, Serral is entering his comfort zone. This is something you see between Protoss and Zerg players, is if the Protoss player keeps delivering the same openings, it becomes easier with time for the Zerg to predict and adapt. This is why this would be the perfect moment in this series for Trap to diverge completely, show us a very different build or style. I guess similar, we did see on Blackpink, we did see that different timing attack, of course, with the Adept. Something like that coming out once again, I think would be very, very powerful.
It's quite a dilemma, though, just because he's so good at the style he usually plays, which is the Stargate into a lot of Immortals, High Templar, some good War Prism aggression. He's been pretty good with his War Prisms, even though Serral does a good job a lot of the time to shut that down. But yeah, on this map, you can definitely take an easier third than on most other maps, and it plays very differently with all the avenues that you can attack into. Previously, it felt like if Trap was attacking, he was kind of committed to being on the other side of the map and really making something happen with his army, and then that one time he got caught by a lot of lurkers. I actually wonder how Trap thinks about going into the later stages of the game and facing 12 plus lurkers with adaptive talents, just because it looks so hard to engage into, right?
It is scary, man. It is not easy at all. Often it's a positional war on both sides where you're not really trying to crack the other person's front on position, but you're trying to, you know, harass them and come in from multiple angles and hit their economy. And that's what Serral did in that last game. He crushed Trap's economy. He ran out of minerals, and then Trap was forced to kind of fight into the lurkers, took an engagement which looked okay, but he just didn't have the bank behind it to remax. So definitely Lurker's a big power unit here. Personally, I would love to see drops. I think they're fantastic on this map. I think dropping that third base, as well as the main base, either way, depending on where the army's positioned, can just win the game for you outright, if not create a lot of chaos. So definitely would love to see a bit more of that from Serral, whether it's Hydra Bane or Roach Hydra. Both work very well with drops.
Yeah, there's this very interesting dynamic in the matchup where if you march across the map and take a full-on engagement, you're pretty much committed to, you know, doing enough or maybe not doing enough and being in big trouble. So what both players do is that they fight with small amount of units, have small skirmishes here and there, use a few Stargate units, use a Prism here and there to attack. Try to get a good position to maybe get a good engagement, but usually the players at this level, they will be very good at kind of denying that for the most part. And that's why we didn't see Trap move across the map and try to go for a proper engagement when he had a lot of Immortals and High Templars. That's because it's so scary to step on creep. Then Zerg will be getting a good engagement. What happens when Zerg attacks with everything? Well, what happened game one, right? You see the Force Fields landing, you see the Storms landing. So it's a war for attrition. And if you can get ahead enough, you can close these games out a lot of the time. But it's just so hard to get ahead enough to make sure you can win those fights. And we've seen in some previous series, some players that were committing to attack, what they refer to as throwing away the game was essentially just attacking instead of just kind of taking their time, right? Especially like Neep Serral series was kind of like that, back and forth with the attacks. It's like one's ahead, attacks, gets defended, then the other guy's ahead, he attacks, gets defended. You know, it never ended almost.
Exactly. I mean, the defensive positioning can be so strong in this game, as well as, of course, the closer reinforcements and kind of picking where your battles end up being. So players not wanting to throw away the engagements by getting overly aggressive into a bad position. And
by the way,
I
think it means they don't back down from a fight, but they don't go for the fight in the first place until they're sure they can win it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to back down from a fight. You just don't want to pick the fight in the first place. We don't want to back down from a fight. And we are going to see
So they can stay alive, yeah.
They can stay alive to fight another day. Hydra Bane this time.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit
Maybe
different.
because of this map, right? Like there is only one main entrance. Obviously a Warp Prism can be dangerous, but honestly, if you can get away with it, I do think that in that one game that Serral did it, if he hadn't died like in the one timing he was the weakest, he would have been in a pretty good spot in my opinion.
And this is a different order of things, but we're seeing a ton of gateways. If we see a second Warp Prism on the way, then we know for sure. But no, there is going to be a Forge. Okay, so we're going to be going up to about 8 gateways, I believe. 6 or 8 gateways for Trap. You know, he's already got a bunch coming in there. 2 in the wall, 2 just finished in the main. And
oh, Storm Drop!
Oh.
He starts Storm, warps into High Templar so they can start charging up on energy. Trap will be mixing in some different air unit here that's going to be a huge threat in the Warp Prism and these 2 High Templars. This is sick.
Is charge not started at all yet? Is there no charge? Okay. He's got
this is a fast Storm Drop.
That's a ton of gateways with no charge as well.
I mean, he's going to start it soon. I think he just wanted to get the 2 High Templars first so that he can make sure they charge up on energy.
I guess you've got to spend your minerals on something, so you might as well get your gateway explosion down. Why not? Okay, just a slightly odd order from Trap there. Kind of ran my head through a loop for a moment, but he's going to be chrono boosting out the Storm, and the Overseer does see that now.
Oh, this is sick.
It's so rare for them to actually drop, so even seeing the fast Storm, it's not necessarily going to click that there might be a Storm drop, but he's pretty well prepared. Queen and Hydras. Oh, this is dangerous, but he's coming in from the left flank. The Hydras are a little bit more to the right. And the Storm is now finished. He's going for it. The Storm drop comes in. Massive Storms. 6 worker kills. A lot of drones getting pulled out of there with just a sliver of life.
That would have been a lot worse if Serral hadn't moved that away. So as much as he loses 6 drones, it's not the end of the world. He's going to be able to replenish that. Already 9 more drones on the way here. Serral gets supply blocked. Losing the Overseer that's across the map. But at least there is no big attack coming that he's not ready for. And look at that creep spread, Pig.
My man, that is delicious right there. Creep all over the map. Zerg fans rejoice because that's a great sign for the rest of this game. Serral looking very good with the map control, and he's opting for a very different style. Hive and Spire both starting up. He's going to tech to quick Broodlords, an older style we haven't seen a lot of in this tournament, and that is going to require very quick Tempests if Trap wants to defend it. But for now, Trap is so focused on the defensive because what's he been dealing with this series? Hydra Bane busts, Ravager Bane busts, all sorts of different mid-game attacks. He's not necessarily scouting Serral's base and realizing this is coming. And that could backfire because if there's one thing that counters a mortal Archon Storm, it's just having a good pack of Broodlords with a bunch of Hydralisks supporting them.
And especially with what happened in Game 2 earlier, you can expect Serral to be extremely cautious this time around with his Broodlords, not leave a lot of army away from them and do the proper siege that he needs to close things out if he can get a lot of them and set up a good siege. So it's going to be interesting. Serral shutting down this Warp Prism pretty well so far. He's going to have to make sure he keeps on doing that because
it's going to come in from another angle and it actually might find the damage from there. So he's just looking for a fresh angle, finds its way in. Here comes round 2 of the Storm drops. Oh man, another 8 workers do go down.
Got him.
Very nice damage.
Adrenaline glands now on the way for the Zerg player. Greater Spire is going to start. I don't think that Trap has spotted the Hive, by the way.
Yeah.
Like he's not trying to rush into any sort of fleet beacon or anything. Yeah, he might just... Okay, no, he's trying to send the scouts. That just got shut down.
He's kind of preparing
I think that was
for
early
drops, right?
Phoenix.
He's got cannons and shield batteries on the third.
This is
now
weird.
Pushing out because he has to. He has to get some sort of information of what's going on. His only info is, oh, the creep is already knocking on my doorstep. I'm playing someone who's really, really good at keeping up with that. Yeah, I've done a bit of damage with Storm, but he doesn't know the whole picture. And the fleet beacon does start. Good play by Trap. He senses that something is up. He realizes he needs to open up that tech. Second Stargate down as well. But I mean, right now, Serral's got map control. He's got the bigger army. If he morphs these Corruptors into Broodlords in the middle of the map, I think those Broodlords are going to hit that fort well before Storm gets out.
Ooh, this hallucinated Phoenix gets away here. He's going to try to sneak that to the main base. You want to see how far along the Hive
Storm
is.
drop, here it goes. Nice pull on the drones, but still loses 5 workers there and actually going to warp in a bunch of Zealots. The Queen dies to the High Templar auto attack. The first time we've literally seen anything ever die to the High Templar's auto attack.
And the last.
Most likely the last as well. The Zealots are going to evacuate. The Archon's going to stand there and die to a Baneling.
Did Trap spot the main base with the hallucinated Phoenix? What did he see?
I don't think he was watching either way, but he's building Tempest for safety. Does know about the Hive. He's assuming Broodlords are on the way. I'm not sure if he realizes how quick they are. Broodlords are morphing. Where are they morphing? Is it all the way at home in the north? because if those Broodlords don't morph back there, it'll take a long time to get across the map.
Okay, some sentries get caught here and die pretty quickly. Yeah, I think Serral's going to want to look to set up a siege here as he maxes out. But he's been using drones here and there. I was going to say, what doesn't he make my spores? I guess he got a little bit fed up here finally. Needed to leave some more units. They are trapped with yet another huge warping. Okay, that's going to be defended easily.
Yeah,
maybe
that's actually
recall?
bad because the army for Serral was so close. So, of course, Trap kind of banking on Serral being a little bit further out on the map. It was a nice thought, but it doesn't really work out. I think a single Corruptor to clean that up will be nice. This one's going to go to the late game, Todd. I don't know if Serral's going to try to force the issue with Broodlords. If he does, it could be a disaster. We've got three Tempests building at a time. +1 weapons on the way for them as well. The Broodlord Hydra Bane is on the way over here, starting to knock on the door.
Tempest are about to finish here. He sold 3 of them. Trap needs them right now to start pushing back this army. There are a lot of Hydralisks for Serral, so...
Oh,
and
man.
he's still... Oh, this Warpism is insane, by the way.
He just hasn't dealt with this, and the Spire is exposed. He's only sending back a few Zerglings right now. Uh-oh, Trap saved a lot of supply purposefully to deal with this. I think he's going to do quite well. Adrenal Glands and +2 melee is pretty good, though. The Broodlord's trying to evacuate. Phoenixes actually jump on top of them. The Hydras do need to turn around to defend those Broodlords.
He's doing the same as in Game 2. He's trying to jump on top of the Broodlords that are very slow here to try and punish some of them. He gets one. Might be able to get 2 unless that gets transfuses. All from just the War Prism. All of the damage that Trap has achieved this game, other than the early game Phoenix and Oracle, has been through that War Prism.
We're seeing the mega late game here. Something Serral is known to be a master of. We've seen him finish off players in this stage of the game, but Trap is so well set up. He's got his flyer upgrade starting to queue on up. +1's finished. No doubt we'll be adding +2. We've already got 5 Tempests out. A Mothership is done, as well as Archons and a ton of Storm. This is a ground-pounding army from Trap, and he's adding in Void Rays to deal with the Corruptors as well. I feel like Serral needs to play this one a little bit slow, and he's got to start the Spore Crawlers in the middle of the map.
Yeah, I think that would be very smart for him to do that. He went into Pathogen Glands, and now he's getting Neural Parasites. So we're going to see Infestor production start now for Serral, who's close to maxing out. So it's not like he has a lot of room to make that. Might want to sacrifice some of his units. We see a lot of Hydralisks going around the wall here, as well as Banelings. I think he's looking to try and do some damage before losing these units.
Ooh, +2 Banelings in the mineral line. Never a sign of what the player wants to see. No!
Whoa, whoa! What is going on, Trap?
Couple Phoenix go down.
A little bit overeager here, trying to jump on top of Hydras.
No! Serral's turn. Hydra's in the open. Oh man, just eating Storm. Not paying attention at all. A big misstep there from Serral. Hydra's not necessarily the unit that you want to have so many of in the later stages, but he didn't want to lose those units just yet.
Serral's just doing the dance. Left, right, top, bottom. Now attacking at the bottom with a lot of links and some Banes, but every single Trap is there with a lot of units.
Yeah, it does get a few Immortals and a High Templar. Not a terrible trade, but not great either.
Every single time that Trap is on 4 bases, by the way, he grabs a Dark Shrine. Guys, do yourself a favor. If you're on 4 bases and you don't have a Dark Shrine, make a Dark Shrine. Save a life.
New rule for the book, not just when behind Dark Shrine, when ahead. Why not Dark Shrine? Does end up jotting that one down in the great Protoss book of builds and decision-making strategies to allow you to win games. Trap, of course, coming in with some Zealots and DTs on the backside. Infestors coming out, Hydras, more and more upgrades. We are going to get to see some very cool late game here, and I'm fascinated. Can Serral defend this base? Can he deal with this push? The Infestors are a little bit exposed here. His Corruptors and Broodlords starting to push forwards, but he's down in army supply right now. Those Tempests with the punish. 1 Broodlord, 2 Broodlords fall. This is really bad for Serral right now. He may need to give up this expansion.
Yeah, some fantastic control from Trap so far. And actually Serral's morphing in even more Broodlords. He lost a few, but I'm a little bit surprised. Like, you might want to try and counter the air a little bit more. I'm surprised that we don't see any Vipers in particular. If you could start landing some Parasitic Bomb and Fungals, I feel like you immediately trigger a recall. And then the next time that happens, the Protoss is like, kind of stuck in place. Obviously, like, easier said than done. There's going to be a lot of High Templars with the potential for some feedbacks in that army here of Trap, who's upgrading a lot right now. He's on 2 Cyber Cores big. He's getting attack and armor at the same time. Serral is just kind of massing Infestors. For a long time, this was discussed because of all the changes on the Infestors with the Infested Terran and the Fungal in particular. As a Zerg player, perhaps you could elaborate on why it might be stronger than before in a way there.
Infested Terrans do an insane amount of anti-air damage. They have a special anti-air attack. But because it was so powerful, it did get scaled back a little bit, and you actually can't throw them very far. So Infestors only have like 5 cast range on the Infested Terrans. So you can't just kind of like run into a battle and throw Infested Terrans on your opponent's army. You can kind of throw them up defensively, but not offensively. So Infested Terrans are really powerful at defending attacks, and if you can kind of get them all out in time. The tricky part is getting the Protoss player to actually fight into the Infested Terrans. So that's going to be big.
All the
Fungal
spores,
growth,
right, so that you can fight there.
Exactly. Fungal growth also very big. You can chain that on interceptors. It takes 3 fungal growths fully chained to take down the interceptors. And Neural Parasite, a big one. Grabbing Archons, Carriers, Tempers, any of those big units, stealing them with the Mind Control Neural Parasite, and then using them to attack their own units for a short period can be very, very powerful.
Usually the ideal fight for Protoss will happen on their side of the map, as will the ideal fight for the Zerg on their side of the map. So it's kind of like before a war for attrition, where the game kind of should slow down from there with all the static defense that there is, despite, I mean, a big weakness of this army is that it's very slow. If Trap has some free supply, he could just fly Warp Prism into the main base of Serral and warp in a ton of charge loss, and then Serral will have a very hard time defending properly, but because he has so many spores there, it's so scary for Trap to attack into him. So they're both kind of trying to assemble the perfect army, which in Trap's case, or even in Serral's case, might eventually end up meaning that they have to sacrifice a lot of their walkers and replace those as army to get, instead of getting just 130 army supply, if you can get, I don't know, 150. We've seen a 199 army supply in the past when Neeb was playing at the global finals. This might be the goal there, eventually, for both of them.
Oh, that Spine Crawler there is going to go down, but the DT is pushed back by the Broodlord.
Why is Disruptor
down? Disruptor, I think that's got to be a misclick. I mean, it's really good at killing Infestors and Infested Terrans, but microing that in the midst of a late-game fight, near impossible. We'll have to see if Trap, you know, I think he's cancelled it. We'll have to see if he actually has some way of making that work. But I like what you said there about the fact that, you know, if you leave some supply free, sometimes you can take things apart. It becomes a very strategic, slow war of immobility at this point. And how do you abuse your opponent's immobility? For Zerg, usually you want a forward...
he's starting Disruptors.
Yes, okay,
he wants to disrupt the drop because there is not that much mobility.
Yeah, definitely some powerful options there. We'll see exactly what he does with it in the future. But what you've got to fight for as the Zerg is if you can get creep across the river. There's this river through the middle of this map that kind of just goes right to left. And if you can actually get your creep on the other side of the river, get up on the ledge on the high ground, that's going to be big. You'll see the creeps trying to get up this ramp right now. If he can get it up beyond these ramps, establish spores on Trap side of the map, that's where he wins the game, because then he can branch out, cut off this bottom left-hand corner base. He can harass the natural, attack in multiple angles. Meanwhile, though, Serral is actually struggling even to take his own corner of the map.
Yeah, and that's why Trap, by the way, is patrolling around the river, because he knows that if he lets Serral creep spread as much as he wants to, and then set up on that high ground, it's obviously going to be very hard for him to deal with this. So he's making sure that doesn't happen just yet, but I feel like it's almost inevitable. Eventually, Serral will go for that, and it's going to be very hard to stop with all of these spores kind of joining his army and making it a lot stronger. Probe's already being sacrificed here. I mean, he has so many.
So I want to talk about these disruptors for a moment and why I think they're a terrible idea. Basically, they impact now on detonation when they hit units. Todd, so that means if there's any Zerglings or Broodlings in the way, they can't fire. There's going to be Zerglings and Broodlings in the way every single fight. This is a Broodlord-based army. Honestly, Trap is going to need to come in from a flank or drop those on the rear, find a way to hit them into the center of the Infesteds. The only other reason I can see for this is maybe to pick away at creep and spore crawlers from a distance. Run up, fire them, run back.
That's what I thought.
So maybe just having a little bit of supply invested in them to help clear spore crawlers from afar. It's kind of like a long-term, efficient way of clearing your opponent's map control.
And, ooh, nice Neural Parasite here. That one Oracle, but not before it tagged a lot of these Infestors. Serral might have to wait for that to expire before he goes for the fight. Yeah, if you can land that Revelation on all the Infestors, they are really the only thing that can do very well against these Disruptors, since there is no Vipers. And Trap really not letting Serral set up properly here on this high ground around that river that you talked about before.
These Disruptors doing a very good job of clearing these spores. The Broodlords need to get over here, but because of the Revelation, they'll get sniped by the Tempest if that happens. So, nice way of clearing everything back. Trap clearly has encountered this situation before. Very rare you get to this point in the game. Ooh, does try to grab one of the Disruptors, but that Infestor immediately gets blasted. A couple of Disruptors do go down. These Disruptors actually end up being a really cool addition. In a pitched battle, they're going to be worthless, but in this back and forth game, they're being very efficient.
Yeah, Serral can't make anything happen here just yet. He's going to get one of those Disruptors, but he's been the one that's been losing a lot of these units. Oh, and counter-attack once again with the Hydralisk from Serral. They don't do much with his army anyway. They just get stormed and die very quick. So looking to try and do some damage on one of those important bases here from Trap as he's securing his own on the top right-hand side.
I think Serral's whole army just got revelated. No, it's not revelated, and he's pushing creep onto the high ground. That is crucial. That Hydra attack actually pulls back and saves itself for now as well. If he can just get an Overseer over there, keep hitting that bottom left with a counterattack. If he gets this creep on this high ground, it is going to be massive. Serral wants to push forward and cut the area out in between Trap's bases, but for now, the Revelation goes down, the Tempest's being sieged, the Spore Crawl is being pushed back, Trap being incredibly cost efficient. And here we go, Serral wants to pull him out of position again, but the cannons are good.
And keep in mind, guys, Trap remade a lot of gateways in his main base, and he's been upgrading very consistently for those gateway units. He's got 15 in total. That means that if he loses this army, he's going to be able to reinforce straight into the fight with a lot of stuff like Zealots, or usually Stalkers to try and either finish the game or force Serral to remake lower tier units instead of just letting him remax with a lot of air.
Two Disruptors go down there for a Spore Crawler. Banelings come in and hit the cannons. All clumped up, they do go down. The Hydra's going to try and snipe out this expansion. A very nice counterattack. The
Trap is moving back.
Ooh.
He's moving back to that location. That might be the green light for Serral to move up that river, set up the spores, and go quicker.
This is so nice for Serral. Yeah, Serral was being a little bit inefficient with some trades, but this is a good one. The Hydras are going to get caught on the retreat. And here we go, Trap. He's got a smaller bank overall in minerals, but his gas count is still incredibly powerful. It's all about the spell usage for both sides. Notice there's double Oracles, double Disruptors being built here. The Disruptors haven't really been cost efficient.
That's cute.
One cheeky boy burrowed under the Nexus. No base for you, buddy.
Trap is doing a very good job of working on his perfect composition. Actually, Spores are going to move up on the high ground here. Serral might be looking for a huge engagement. Fungals and Neural Parasite are going to start landing on top of this massive army. Recall might be forced. The Mothership, not Neural just yet. And Spores are going to be attacking as well here as the Corruptors.
Wow, massive Neurals, massive Fungals landing. Even more, another round goes down. This army trying to retreat, but the Broodlords have smashed the ground support away. A massive Stalker Warp in is coming. I don't know if there's enough anti-air there. Yes, there is. There's still a pack of Corruptors. They snipe all of those Tempests. The Broodlords retreating backwards. He knows he just needs to make sure he hangs on to this position. If Serral can maintain here, he will hang on these Disruptors coming forwards. What are the Broodlords doing? They're not firing right now. A few of the Infestors go down unnecessarily. A bunch of Ultras are being built. The Mothership falls. The Stalkers coming forwards, but they're taking massive losses.
Yeah, and Trap is going to be pushed back here after losing his Mothership. He got a little bit overeager for a second. Serral is still maxed out.
Wow.
He's getting Ultras to counter this ground army of Stalkers, which is going to do great. We're going to see Archons being added on as well as some Immortals. Trap kind of able to anticipate what's going to come. I guess he's going to keep some High Templars in their natural form, but I think Archons is going to be good, but he's still going to have to face Broodlords here, as Serral uses some more of his drones to get a bunch of spine crawlers. And he's starting to have a bank that's out of control, Pigs. Trap is not even maxed out anymore. He tries to recall. He's going to lose 2 carriers before that can even happen. Oh, guys, don't sleep on the job. They're on the smoke break, Pig.
Oh man, the spine crawlers are going up. There's no actual spores up there. Those Oracles need to turn on their lasers and kill some workers right now. There's the Corruptors, Ultras, Broodlords pushing forwards. The damage is going down here. Corruptors are actually going to go up and defend these Oracles. Serral is all over this game. He is in control, large and in charge right now. Cutting off these expansions, going for the tech as well. Trap falling back. He's trying to remax, but it is a desperate remax of
He
Stalkers.
never made Blink. He never made Blink this whole time, so he now tries to get it, but it's just so late in the game. He's been forced into a gateway-heavy army with Immortals in support. Serral with a massive amount of Ultralisk. He's got Broodlords. He's got everything. Still so many Infestors as well in support. The Spores.
Where's the
They're going to be there to
Those
maybe
Broodlords are a bit exposed right now. He shouldn't be that far out. A bit of a blunder here from Serral, but the Neural Parasite turns it all around. The Archon splash devastating on Trap's own army. His whole army mutinies here. A few tentacles just neuroparasiting their minds. They all turn on each other, everything falls apart, and Serral, the master of the macro game, slays it. A moment of inattention from Trap before. Serral jumped on it, mind controlled his entire army, and now Trap is just trying to hang on. His last few units are going to be able to kill these Immortals, but the Broodlords raining down death from above.
And just like that, Pig, look at the supply. 3 times more in army here for Serral, who's just going to have to pull back a little bit, wait and regroup before he can try and clean that final army up from Trap, who's just completely broke. He barely has any income. He cannot replenish that entire army. Serral basically maxed out.
Those Infestors are just going for the hug of doom right now. Infested Terran force field surrounding this army.
Now?
Oh man, he is getting a taste of his own medicine, and he can see the release on his face there. A massive frustration with the way that game went down. Having your entire army turned against you, the worst way to lose a game of Starcraft.
The moment the Spores moved up, that's when all things started to go right for Serral. He landed a couple of very important neural. There was no high temp loss in position to storm or feedback. And when your first carriers start to get neurals, you're faced with a tough choice. Do you recall and leave them behind? Or do you stay and lose the rest of your army and kind of lose the game? He tried to fight it out. He tried to kill the Infestors that were using neural, but Serral was just too well positioned and too masterful with this massive army of his that he was able to get a very important fight win that led into the game victory here.
It's a tense day here for Trap, and he's got to be hating the fact that this has happened twice today. 2 times now, first against Dark, here again against Serral. He's gotten the 2-0 lead, and he's let it turn around. He's let it tie up 2-2. He managed to close out in the first one, but it was a stressful ordeal. It tired him out. It took so much energy. Now here, the second time around, he has to be feeling frustration that he's letting it get back to this point once again. Serral is in his comfort zone now. He's brought out that power in the late game. He's shown incredible long macro games, the multitasking on Eastwatch. Here on Backwater, that supreme late game with the Spore Crawlers and the Infestors, he's starting to look unstoppable. And Trap now has to go into Catalyst, a smaller map, a more rush-oriented map. Both players are going to be feeling the pressure at this point.
And Serral has always been known for being one of the better Hive tech Zergs. You know, in Europe, you got very strong Zergs like Laser and Nurtio, but it's more in the mid-game that they try to make more happen, you know, on that lair tech. Serral was one of those guys that was the least shy once upon a time to go into Hive, to be a little bit crazier, to play with those big transitions of Zergs, those high economy situations where you have a lot of bases, where a lot of Zergs would kind of try and shy away from that. He was never the one, and it showed so much here in that game. The experience, masterful throughout. And if you're Trap here after a game like this, you don't want to go into one more of those, I think. I don't think it's possible to look at that game and be like, oh no, I just made a few errors here and there. Let's play another one game like this. No, I think you're going to want to make something happen before you get into that position with so many Broodlords, plus the static defense and all the Infestors that he was facing there.
I love that statistic we saw on screen. In Game 5 deciding matches in live tournaments, Serral has a record in the past of just 3 wins and 4 losses. Trap, on the other hand, 5 wins, 2 losses. In the past, he has been the more clutch player in these moments. He's done it earlier today. Will he be able to do it here again? I'm not so sure. This is 2018 Serral, an absolute monster. Let's introduce the players, guys. We are going to be going into the final match of this series to find out who will be going through to the semi-finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. Down here in the bottom right-hand side, in the blue, representing ENC Esports, he is Serral. And his opponent up here in the top left-hand side of the map. He's been fighting hard all day long against some of the best Zergs in the world. Put your voices out there. Put your hands together for Trap.
huge momentum swift here in this series with Serral really regaining control, staying composed, and looking fantastic in those last 2 games, I have to say. It's going to be very hard for Trap to really stay in it. We've seen it. He's been the clutch player more times in the past. Actually, I feel like I remember so many series of Serral where he barely got eliminated. Yeah. And then it's always the same thing. It's like, well, guys, sorry I lost, on Twitter, but I'll be back stronger, which is true every time. But I'm sure he would love to have a deeper run here. He's played so well already this tournament, 5-0 in group stage, now facing a very strong Trap and taking it to the final map. What a set of great series we've had today. This one included.
It's cool to see the different character throughout the different players. Here in this one, of course, it's been all about respect between the 2 opponents. Neither of them wanting to risk going for anything too crazy in the early games. They're both assuming the other one's going to have solid defense, and we see these very straightforward openings in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game. The Hatchery first expansion for Serral, the Nexus after Gateway for Trap. Both of them wanting to get their economy up and pushing their way into the mid-game. Trap has been the one who's tended a little bit more towards the aggression. I keep thinking back to Blackpink, where he made that beautiful adept timing attack work. It took out Serral on his way towards Hydra Baneling, hit him right in the weak spot. And here on Catalyst, those sort of fast attacks hit brutally fast.
We've seen players do crazy things and have insane mind games in some of these final maps of best of 5 series. But I feel like if there were one to do something like this here in this one, it would have to be Trap. I highly doubt that Serral is going to drop her Ultra and spam units and then go for the offensive. And I'd be the most surprised guy if he did that, maybe along with Trap. But I don't think it has such a high chance of success against somebody as good as Trap. So we'll see if he's the one, throwing in a couple of target units, then dropping down the gateways and going for the all-out aggression. Catalyst is definitely an interesting map, shorter rush distance. It feels like you can be more aggressive, but all alike. It's not necessarily that hard for your opponent to set up well defensively and do a good job of that. Like we've seen Serral really kick into gear with that creep spread. Imagine if here he gets like 4 creep tumors, he's already in the middle of the map.
He's been so focused on this double tumor opening from the get-go today, of course, allowing the Queens to maneuver between the natural and the third. Very common in the current meta. Spore Crawler covers the main, Queens cover the natural and the third against the first Oracle. A very common setup there for the Zerg players. Of course, at this level, just putting a Spore Crawler in each base doesn't really protect you because they'll just catch the drones moving between the bases. They'll always find an opening. And once again, Trap opens up with the Phoenix, shuts down the Overlord, is going to be going across the map and scouting out what's up. That's a lot of gas on the way there for Serral. He's going to be dropping some Spore Crawlers, some Queens. And here on Catalyst, I wouldn't mind seeing a big Roach attack if it's against, say, the fast Glaive Adept opening. Looking at the production tab, that's exactly what we are most likely to see with the fast Twilight Council follow-up. No Robo on the way. Serral just needs to defend the Oracle and the Phoenix as cleanly as possible while he progresses to the next stage of the game.
Yeah, Serral's grabbing a Roach Warren, not going to be any Ling Bane Hydra shenanigans. He's not going to take the risk here. And again, this is the very interesting dynamic with the matchup currently, is that if you're facing a lot of Adepts, you kind of have to go for Roaches. If you don't, you're going to die a lot of the times to these attacks or take a lot of damage. But because you're going to Roaches, what those Protoss do? They go into a lot of Immortals, and that makes it very hard for you to deal with these big Protoss armies with many Immortals, and later on Archons, Item Plus with Storm.
Really nice start to the pressure here for Trap. Gets 2 drones popping out of the eggs and an Overlord with the Phoenix.
Not bad.
That's much more damage than he's been getting in some of these games. Did he get the second Oracle? I'm not sure if he actually did.
This is a very quick lair here for Serral. What is going on?
Yeah, he's been doing this a lot in these games. He loves the fast Roach speed, the ability to both get the Overseers and to punish. 5 Adepts coming here. This is the first wave of what we like to think of as fake Adept pressure. He wants to force out a lot of units, force a big response from Serral. He's going to not necessarily commit until Glaives is done. Glaives is getting there, though. It's very close.
And Trap is still finding damage. Still killing units. I think that should be a cancel, pretty sure.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, he's going to go for it. Whoa, recalls immediately.
That was a huge mistake from Trap there. Does have to use the recall. At least he does salvage what would have been a terrible situation there.
He would not have killed really any drones at all. Maybe 2. And lost all of this.
Oh, there's double Robo going down, but it's not up yet. This is actually the situation where I wouldn't have minded a huge Roach commitment across the map, but Serral playing it safe as always. He wants to go to the next stage. He does not want to risk it on some big silly Roach attack. He's just going to drone up behind this while adding on the tech. Now, because he's opened up Roaches, I'd love to see Hydras and Lurkers as the follow-up. I think that really is one of the best ways to transition. And in his mind, he's got to be worried about that Adept timing from Blackpink. He sees a lot of Sentries and Adepts there. That's the same setup that he saw in that last game. Now, he doesn't know that it's actually 2 Robos this time, but still, we see no Forge from Trap. We don't see a Templar Archives. He's looking like he's very focused just on getting that third setup and established.
Remember back then, though, I think he was playing Ling, Bane, Hydra, right? With almost exclusively Ling and Banes to try and defend when he dropped the Banelings. This time around, he's got Roaches. He can morph in a lot of Ravagers. It's very hard to dodge a lot of corrosive bile if they're spammed properly, so I feel like it would be very different. We do have a Hydra then here starting for Serral. He's not really the kind of guy to get tunnel visioned into just Roach Ravager and something like Banelings.
It is a slower Hydra tech though, but his Zergling saw probes rallying to the third. That told him that Trap is committing to the economy, which is why Serral feels safe adding the 4th base, more drones. He's going for Overlord speed, the Hydra tech. This is good news for the Finnish fans out there, for the fans of Serral. He's going to be trying to get up to about 75 workers, and then he's going to be looking to drop from multiple angles, come in with Roaches and Hydras. Meanwhile, Trap, super focused on this mass Immortal game. He is now starting up the Templar Archives, and he's going to be going for this big, massive, ground-pounding army.
And immediately upon the Hydralisk Den finishing, we see Muscular Augments starting Hydralisks and the Lurker Den here from Serral. I mean, he did so well that one game where he got a lot of Lurkers. It really feels like if Serral can set up well on 4 to 5 bases, reach the max army and start building a bank, that's his comfort zone. He doesn't want to play as much of those crappy games where he's getting overly aggressive against somebody like Trap, because that just doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, someone like Trap can be very decisive and intelligent, but for Serral, his strength is, like we talk about, his mechanics and his decision-making, especially positionally over time. The longer the game goes, the more of a margin there is for him to not lose to one silly mistake. He wants to push it to that longer stage because he knows that over time he tends to gain advantages just by being faster with his hands, by being better with his positioning. And this is why he is well set up right now. Zerglings want to slow down a 4th in the corner. Lurker Den is on the way. The upgrades for +2 coming down. The Lurker Den, Roaches and Hydras spilling out all over the map. Trap realizing that Serral is going to start being annoying, is going to push into the center of the map.
He's going to drop, I think, so likely he's setting up Overlords on the left side. I think that's first for vision, but if he realizes that, you know, Trap might not be ready for it, I think it would be good to start and drop, because when it's there to really catch this, nobody really goes blink here, right, with Stalkers to really punish that. So even if Immortals and units come in position to defend, you can just kind of pick up and leave and redrop elsewhere. It's very hard for Protoss to defend in so many places at once. And I think one of you, maybe you or Rotti talked about it earlier, from the moment Protoss takes a 4th base, that's when you want to start in doing that. When they're on 3 bases before, it's very, very hard to do that because they're well set up on just a few bases. It's much easier for them to defend.
Absolutely. And we see that now. The 4th base has come out. Serral actually running right past his army here, catching a few War Prisms on the map. One of them does go down. He's rejoining his drop defense squad, realizing the Prism isn't a threat any longer. His main drop going into the main base. He realizes the army is way out of position right now for the Protoss player. Trap only now going to spot this drop coming in, and here we go, unloading those Overlords in the main base. That's going to be a huge amount of damage. Recall is going down. Is he just going to fight it? He's looking to engage. I don't know if that's the right idea. He's going to take down a few of these High Templar. A nice start to things, but he's got to get out of there. Hot pickup, going to be flying on out of that base. Most of those units are going to be dying. A few Roaches, though, getting into the back of the natural. He's going to keep dancing these between the bases. Impressive multitasking from Serral.
And this is, like I said, there is not enough area to properly deal with this here. For Trap, who's trying to chase, he's trying to engage on the ground with enough units, storming some of these Overlords, but the one that's empty is the one that's being targeted. Still getting a great engagement on the right side, catching a few of these Immortals. If he can reduce this army count, Serral might be able to swarm his opponent here with his massive production and bank on the other side of the map.
From down 0-2, he is back with a vengeance. Serral bouncing between these bases. Trap is not able to deal with these drops coming in from all angles. These 2 Lurkers, absolute heroes, doing devastating damage. But Trap still has a core of Immortals. He's still got some High Templar with Storm. He's not dead yet.
Yeah, Roaches being redropped here into that natural base, still killing probes left and right. Serral is doing so much damage. This army of Trap is still scary. I don't think, does he even have an observer here? He walks in there, lands a lot of storms, cleans up a lot of the army of Serral, who's going to have to spend some of his bank here. He's going into Hive in the meantime. Trap still struggling to defend in many places at once against the Roaches and Hydralisks.
Wow, this is beautiful play by Serral. These Roaches and Hydras, such cheap, inexpensive units. He's just trading them off wherever he can. These Stalkers are actually quite an investment for Trap in this position. And Trap, now, he's barely hung on to 4 bases, but look at the economy. Everything settles. Serral takes a deep breath, says, hey, I've got 80 workers and a Hive on the way. His income massively in the lead against the 45 probe Trap. Trap's economy has just been hamstrung.
And Serral is being left undisturbed on the other side of the map. During all of this, that's the main thing. He could just keep on going for the same drops, attacks on the top right-hand side. He always has army in 3 places at once being aggressive. And even if he loses that army, he'll trade, he'll deal some economic damage in the first place. Now catching 2 Archons up the ramp around the natural.
Oh, he's going to have to pull back from there. Nice force field does go down. These Roaches and Hydras trying to get the Nexus. Not quite going to be able to close it out, but at the same time, another push on the front. The cannons will fall. A few more probes are going to fall as well. Trap getting surrounded here. Serral just keeps hitting from so many sides. This kid is just too damned fast. Trap cannot keep up.
Yeah, Trap is struggling to stay alive here at this point. From there, he has to sack the Vault base. There was no way he could go down and defend that. Adaptive Talents on the way now, Pig. And more upgrades for Zerg player, who's not even dropping anymore, but he's still attacked in so many places that Trap is just falling apart. He's supply blocked. He doesn't even have enough pylons to make any more units.
Oh, these Lurkers here in the perfect setup. The Roaches and Hydras pull back, leading the Immortals into their spines of death. The Lurkers doing so much. The Storm's coming forward desperately. Trap needs to hang on to this base. He can't quite do it though. The Hydras and Zerglings wrapping around from all sides. Serral is unstoppable. The Swarm is here, and he completes the reversal with a 3-2 victory. Serral will be going through to the semifinals. That's got to feel so good, making a comeback like that. This isn't something you get to do every day. Almost going out, tasting defeat, but then turning it around. An impressive series of events here for the young Finn. We'll be hearing from him in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Serral victorious, moving through to the round of 4. You may be wondering, wait a minute, that's not Smix. But don't worry, she's heading down there to get that news from Serral and find out exactly how he is holding up right now after that victory. What a series, boys. That was amazing.
Oh, man, how are you holding up at home? Jeez, that was incredible. I still have the heart rate going on. Like, he was on the cusp of losing game 3 and getting 3-0'd. And then not only did that game turn around, the series turned around, James. That was insane.
It was an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about that. Like, every single game was wild. And the fact that, like, I thought he was going to win game 1, then he lost.
Yeah.
Then he lost. Then it seemed like he was going to lose. And here we are.
Here we are. Here we are.
Yeah. Round of 4.
Speaking of other locations here at the venue, we do have Serral, who is ready with Smix.
Thank you very much, James. Katowice, give it up for your first semifinalist, Serral. Serral, that was an absolutely fantastic series. Last year, you were here in Katowice, but your road stopped in the quarterfinals. You lost 3-0. It almost looked like it would happen again this year, but you came back and you pulled off the reverse sweep. How amazing does it feel to not only move forward, but to do so in completing that reverse sweep?
It feels sick. I wasn't really expecting this because I was super far behind in the third game, I felt like, so I wasn't really expecting this anymore, so that makes it feel a bit more better.
Well, let's talk about that third game, because you were trying to hide your mutas, but then when you flew in your mutas, there were a bunch of Phoenix waiting for them. So what went through your head in that moment?
Well, I wasn't about to type GG just there yet, but I knew I was in a pretty bad shape, and I had to do something, so I just dropped down all the tech I could think of, and luckily he did the attack, which I managed to defend pretty easily. And I think that's where the comeback started.
Well, in the rest of this series, you showcased your fantastic late game ZVP. Can you talk about what it is about that late game that you love so much and why you're so good at it?
I think late game is very hard for Zerg, but if Zerg plays it properly, it's very hard for Protoss to win. And we have a lot of good late game Protosses in EU, so we are practicing good mount against it. And I don't think Koreans get too much practice against it. So I just kinda, that's how my CVP late game is a bit better than theirs, and I was actually very surprised. I managed to take the game so easily. I was expecting it to be a bit better for him, but yeah, I know.
Well, now you just took down Trap, and moving forward, you're gonna play another Protoss. It's gonna be either Classic or Deer, so who do you think is gonna move on and face you?
I'm expecting Classic to get through. I'm not sure how good of a chance Deer does have, but yeah, I'm expecting Classic.
All right, well, congratulations again. That was an absolutely fantastic series. Let's head back to Kaelaris.
And with that victory, Serral bags himself another $15,000. $15,000 extra for a best of 5. So $25,000 in the bag there for him as well. And, you know, Artosis, before we got to the interview, you said it was a very emotional series. You could see it in Trap. After those last two losses, the burn that he must have felt within him, you could see the frustration building up, and especially at the very end. Very rare that you get to see that kind of reaction from our Korean players.
Well, I think Trap is a player that last year he wasn't happy with how he played. This year he's really practicing hard. I think he's aware of how good he is.
Yes.
And to have the story he's had so far in this tournament, the fact that he just beat Dark in an epic series, and then like he's up 2-0, and like Serral said, like the commentator said, like everyone said, it felt like he was going to 3-0, and then he loses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's emotional, man. Like, he's expecting a lot from himself.
I can't even imagine being, like, a hair's breadth away from winning the ace match of the series, and then everything falling apart from then onwards. Can't even imagine it. Don't even like to think about it. Makes me feel weird.
Artosis, I think you do have a final clip for us from that last game, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind just walking through the magnificence that is Serral.
Absolutely.
If we can jump into this game, right? I mean, at this point that we're at, look at the actual unit tab, okay? If you look at this army supply and you look at this unit tab, 8 Immortal, 2 Archon, you have 3 Sentries, 6 High Templars, and the army is basically 19 Hydra, 23 Roach.
Yes.
When you look at those two armies, if they just run into each other, Protoss wins. just to make this really clear, okay? And if you look at how the bases are, it's like, okay, the 4th is about to finish here. The 5th just finished, no drones there. Okay, this is like a pretty good game.
Yep, yep.
But that's where Serral went crazy. Like, this is insane. If you look at how many different things he does, I'm going to put it a little bit faster so we can get through. Look, all right, so he does the drop. Of course, we saw the High Templars here. Yeah. But he's actually starting to send units all around, right? Here's some Lings moving, some Roaches and some Hydras. He drops Roaches back here.
Yep.
Oh, what's this over here? Still waiting with this set of units. He is actually everywhere for the rest of the game. This game only goes on for another 2 minutes from here, but it is just non-stop with him using a set of units that should lose to what he's against to destroy it.
Yeah, it seems like a dismantling once you give Serral the opportunity to fully flourish on the map.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so good at this type of play because, again, this army, if you run this into the Protoss army, you're not going to win like this. But just utilizing drops, splitting up the army, his multitasking, his tactical play.
Yep.
This is a guy that could win the tournament.
Let's take a look at the bracket then, as we do have our first round of 4 member, and it is the Finnish phenom himself, Serral, our WCS circuit champion currently, and he is looking for more in a bracket full of Koreans. But oh boy, are our Koreans fearsome, and are they amazing, because the next match coming up is going to be Dia going up against Classic. Thank you very much, guys, as we take this break. When we are back, Dia versus Classic PvP to find out who moves on to the round of 4.
All eyes are on